This is Africa, the second largest continent in the world, after Asia. It has a total area of 30.37 million square kilometers. This is about 20% of the Earth's land surface. The population of Africa is about 1.3 billion people, making it the most populous continent after Asia. Africa is home to a wide variety of cultures, languages, and religions. The continent is divided into 54 countries, each with its own unique history and identity. The colonization of Africa began in the 15th century and lasted until the mid-20th century. During this time, many different European nations colonized parts of Africa, including Portugal, Spain, France, the United Kingdom, Belgium, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Sweden. The reasons for European colonization of Africa were varied. Some European nations were motivated by the desire to spread Christianity, while others were interested in exploiting Africa's natural resources. Still others were simply looking for new markets for their goods. The colonization of Africa had a profound impact on the continent. It led to the displacement of millions of Africans, the suppression of African culture and identity, and the exploitation of Africa's resources. According to Statista, Britain and France ultimately controlled the largest territories in Africa by 1914. Britain colonized 30% of Africa's population, including Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Botswana, Lesotho, Swaziland, and Ghana. France colonized 15% of Africa's population, including Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Senegal, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Benin, Togo, Cameroon, Chad, Central African Republic, Republic of the Congo, Gabon, and Democratic Republic of the Congo. 20 countries that came into existence from the areas colonized by France: Algeria, Benin, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Comoros, Congo, Kinshasa, Djibouti, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Republic of the Congo, Rwanda, Senegal, Togo and Tunisia. Although these colonies have got independence, but still France has a major influence in its former colonies. This influence is seen in a number of ways, including political ties. France often intervenes in the internal affairs of its former colonies. This intervention can take the form of military intervention, economic sanctions, or political pressure. Economic ties. France is a major trading partner for many of its former colonies. In 2022, France exported €31.8 billion worth of goods to its former colonies, and imported €19.3 billion worth of goods from them. Military ties. France maintains military bases in several of its former colonies, including Djibouti, Gabon, and Senegal. These bases provide France with a strategic presence in Africa, and they also help to train and support the militaries of these countries. Cultural ties. French is the official language of many of France's former colonies, and it is widely spoken in these countries. France also provides cultural assistance to its former colonies, such as funding for cultural institutions and scholarships for students to study in France. In recent years, there has been a worrying trend of coups in former French colonies in Africa. In 2022 alone, there have been coups in Burkina Faso, Guinea, Mali, and Niger. This trend has raised concerns about the stability of these countries and the future of democracy in Africa. Now we see the details of each country-faced coup. Mali. Mali has a long and troubled history of coups. Since its independence from France in 1960, there have been 10 coups in Mali, 5 of which have been successful. The first coup in Mali took place in 1968. When a group of soldiers led by Moussa Traoré overthrew the democratically elected government of Modibo Keïta. The most recent coup in Mali took place in August 2020, when a group of soldiers led by Assimi Goïta overthrew the democratically elected government of Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. The coup was sparked by months of protests against Keita's government, which was accused of corruption and mismanagement. Burkina Faso. In Burkina Faso there have been 8 coups in Burkina Faso, 4 of which have been successful. The first coup in Burkina Faso took place in 1966, when a group of soldiers led by Sangoulé Lamazana overthrew the democratically elected government of Maurice Yameogo. Lamazana ruled Burkina Faso for nearly a decade. The most recent coup in Burkina Faso took place in January 2022, when a group of soldiers led by Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba overthrew the democratically elected government of President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore. Chad. Since its independence in 1960, in Chad there have been 7 coups in Chad, 3 of which have been successful. The first coup in Chad took place in 1975, when a group of soldiers led by Hissène Habré overthrew the democratically elected government of François Tombalbaye. The most recent coup in Chad took place in April 2021, when a group of soldiers led by Mahamat Idriss Déby Itno overthrew the government of Idriss Déby Itno, who had died earlier that day. Déby Itno's son, Mahamat, was installed as the new president. Cameroon. Since its independence from France in 1960, there have been at least 5 coups or attempted coups in Cameroon. The first coup in Cameroon took place in 1984, when a group of soldiers led by Paul Biya overthrew the government of Amadou Ahidjo. Biya has been president ever since. In 1996 coup in Cameroon took place, when a group of soldiers led by Colonel Djibril Bassing Bedi attempted to overthrow the government of Paul Biya. The coup attempt was unsuccessful, and Bedi was arrested. Niger. Since its independence from France in 1960, there have been at least 4 coups or attempted coups in Niger. The first coup in Niger took place in 1974, when a group of soldiers led by Seyni Kouché overthrew the government of Hamani Diori. Kouché ruled Niger for nearly 20 years, until he died in 1987. The most recent coup in Niger took place in February 2023, in which the military overthrew the government of Mohamed Bazoum. The coup leaders have promised to hold elections within 18 months, but it is unclear whether they will be able to do so. But the question is, what are the reasons of so many coups in ex-French colonies? Now we discuss some reasons of coups in ex-French colonies. Economic problems. Economic problems, such as high unemployment and poverty, can also contribute to political instability. When people are struggling to make ends meet, they may be more likely to support a coup in the hope of bringing about change. Political instability. Political instability is a major factor that contributes to coups in Africa. This instability can be caused by a number of factors, including ethnic rivalries. Many African countries are divided by ethnic groups. These groups may have different languages, cultures, and religions. This can lead to tensions and conflict, which can make it more difficult for governments to maintain stability. Corruption. Corruption is widespread in many African countries. This can erode public trust in the government and make it more likely that people will support a coup. Foreign interference. In some cases, foreign powers may support or encourage coups in African countries. This can be done for a variety of reasons, such as to gain access to resources or to influence the country's political alignment. The rise of authoritarianism. There has been a rise in authoritarianism in Africa in recent years. This has led to a decline in democracy and the rule of law, which can make it more likely that coups will happen. Authoritarian leaders often suppress dissent and control the media, which makes it more difficult for people to hold them accountable. The role of the military in politics. The military plays a significant role in politics in many African countries. This can make it more likely that the military will intervene in politics, either to support or overthrow the government. In some cases, the military may even take control of the government itself. Weak institutions. Weak institutions are another factor that contributes to coups in Africa. This includes weak political institutions, such as the legislature and the judiciary. It also includes weak security institutions, such as the military and the police. Weak institutions make it easier for coup leaders to seize power and to consolidate their rule. The spread of terrorism. The spread of terrorism in Africa has also contributed to political instability. This has made it more difficult for governments to maintain control, and has created an environment in which coups may be more likely to succeed. Terrorist groups often target the government and its institutions, which can further destabilize the country. The impact of climate change. Climate change is also having a negative impact on Africa. This is leading to droughts, floods, and other natural disasters, which are displacing people and causing economic hardship. This can lead to social unrest and make it more likely that coups will happen. Climate change can also make it more difficult for governments to provide basic services, such as food and water, which can further erode public trust in the government. It is important to address the root causes of coups in order to prevent them from happening. This includes strengthening democratic institutions, reducing the role of the military in politics, and addressing economic problems. It is also important to work to combat authoritarianism and terrorism, and to mitigate the effects of climate change.